Hello, listeners. This is 666.1, the Monster Mob, coming at you not quite live from the Boneyard.
If you're looking to talk about frights, we're your friends who go bump in the night.
It's midnight somewhere, and you know what that means? It's time for
We
Hard
Horror. Welcome, listeners, again to an episode of We Heart Horror. And we are joined by the silly glass monster lad.
Soda Pop Rocks Jones. What's up, everybody?
Hello, man. And we are also joined by the lovely, some might say very feral, Demon.
Hello, this is Demon from Demon Reviews.
And you know what? It is nice to have you here at this lovely radio station. But we gotta know, what is your favorite, or at least what was growing up your favorite scary movie?
Final Destination.
Oh,
really?
shit, yeah, that's pretty good. That's good.
So wait,
I love that series.
Did you have a favorite Final Destination, or were you Devon Sawa all the way?
It was one of the newer ones. I think it was was it 5? I think is what it was. Where they like renamed it. I think it was just Final Destination.
Oh,
10.
yeah.
That the newer, the early 2000s, early mid 2000s one.
Why did you in fact dig them?
I don't know, just something about it's one of those things where it's like, this really could happen. Like, this is a whole movie about, what could possibly go wrong, and bam, worst possible case scenario.
Yeah.
That's why I wear glasses. That's why I didn't get LASIK done.
Oh god, that
window.
scene. Yeah, that old scene. Oh, remember that crazy Looney Tunes-esque fucking shenanigans where guys lifting a weight and then just a bunch of random rat trap stuff goes down and then he just gets crushed.
Yeah, so I mean, I can't look at escalators the same way anymore.
It's
I'm
true.
Sure shoelace getting caught.
It's true. She dead ass gets scared at them whenever we're at the mall. She just. Oh yeah. Also, Demon's my lovely my death companion. Yeah, she's pretty cool, I guess.
Don't be fooled.
She's pretty cool, I guess. Anyway,
sorry. Whenever you guys talk about
escalators,
when anybody talks about escalators, all I can think about is Mallrats, and I know it's not a horror movie.
Oh my god!
But that scene where he's like, "That kid's back on the goddamn escalator," and then he gets sucked under.
When it comes to escalators,
what?
Eels and escalators.
Yeah, eels
my
and
god!
Escalators.
Fucking nerd. Anyway, we are here to talk to you guys about, if you're just getting into horror, what the hell do you watch? Because there is a lot in the expansive, wild spiderweb of horror, and it's all pretty quality. Actually, no, it's not. A lot of it's quite dog shit, but most of it's pretty, a decent bit of it's pretty quality. And we're here to take you by the hand and lead you through those horrid, dark, very creepy woods of horror movies. So Demon here has worked up a pretty fun little list of what she thinks are good early recommendations for, aspiring horror fans. So why don't you take it away?
Well, I was gonna say, before we start that, if you wouldn't mind, I know we've all got a couple on a list.
Yeah.
When you go through these, I would like to say, let's go through them one at a time. What do you say? You go one, then Issa, then I'll go, because I want to get a chance to talk about some of these movies that you're gonna have listed. Because I've talked to you about horror before. You've gone over some of your favorites with me before, and there's some that I would love to just give them a sneak preview of what's in store for them. You know what I mean? If they choose that particular movie.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cool.
All right.
Sorry, go ahead.
So do I go now?
Yeah, go for your number one.
All right. So my number one for intro to horror, again, would probably be Final Destination. Any of them are good.
That's true.
They all connect, but they don't. They all explain themselves. Oh, what does this mean?
They're all good for independent viewing.
Yeah, it circles itself all the way back around,
There's
Plus,
a
it's
couple
just
of
a-
details. There's
Just
a
a
couple
quality
of
good time too.
Well, I was gonna say in Final Destination, there's maybe a couple of details throughout the movies that all tie back to like the first movie or the second or part of the third, but it's
Yeah.
never so important to the plot that you can't follow what's going on. It's like a little thing for
Exactly.
people who've been following it, unlike Saw,
It's
where
not
you
like you're
jump into
trying
the
to watch
70s.
Paranormal
Saw
Activity or
is-
something.
Saw's
Yeah.
story is such a shit show. And like if you're going to like jump into say like Saw 3 or something like that, like you're
jeez.
not gonna know what the hell's going
Well,
on.
to be fair, the first Saw movie I watched was Saw 2.
No, really.
Oh, Saw 2's not a bad of
It
all the
was
movies in the
the
Saw. That wasn't a
shove
bad
into
one.
the pit of needles.
Yep, that fucked with me too. I'm
Yep.
afraid of needles. I don't like them.
Me either.
Oh
Me either.
god,
I just got a new tattoo.
Yeah,
Oh, I have tattoos
exactly.
all over. Needle. Okay,
Exactly.
so not those needles. I have a problem with the needles you get at hospitals. Those big
Exactly.
fuckers. Oh.
Yeah,
I just
medical
had to get
needles
blood
are
work
sick.
done, and it's like I'm sitting there like white knuckling and waiting for like to do everything. I'm like, I can get tattooed and pierced any day of the week, but God forbid I get blood drawn.
Yeah,
Oh my
exactly.
God. Well,
Uh,
I don't really care because I'm a skeleton. Fuck both of you.
Okay, real quick though. So why would you recommend this to a new person? I mean, me personally, I think about it. I'm like, they're scary enough to where you'll get a couple of good scares in there, but not so scary that you're going to be hiding behind your couch. Well,
Exactly. I think it's because it's not necessarily like super gory, or there's no like perceived villain other than, cheating death,
yeah.
So there's
Hmm.
no like, you don't have a Freddy Krueger or a Jason. It's really just like, you cheated your destiny, so now
Yeah,
life is going to
yeah.
correct itself.
Mhm.
There is something
cool.
funny that happens in the first Final Destination movie, and it's very strange that it happens. In the first one, there is a character who dies, and I won't say who. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. A little spoiler alert. One of the characters does die in there, and then death makes it look like a suicide, which I always thought was weird because there's nothing wrong with that being an accident. Like if that's how he died in an accident, why
Is
make
Death
it look like
worried
a
Is
suicide?
Death worried about the
Yeah,
cops?
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
So if someone's like, oh, this is an accident, they'd find it like a lot weirder. It's kind of like how people perceive the incident, I guess.
Yeah,
It
but
kind
I
of
mean,
like changes the mindset. Accident versus suicide. It puts you in two totally different mindsets when you hear the news.
well, I mean, like death doesn't
And
do
that
that
can cause
again
different
throughout the
change.
entire series. It never again like makes somebody look like a guilty criminal, except for in the first movie, and that was so weird because I was sitting there going, but why? Like, why does death have a vendetta against
Even-
this one
even
person?
Death
Early
is afraid of the police.
2000s.
Yeah, even Death is afraid of the police.
Devon
Oh
Sawa
my
was just
God.
so badass in that era. I mean, he's in. Okay, so funnily enough, my recommendation that I'll go into in a minute also is a
Mhm.
horror movie with Devon Sawa in it. So, pretty funny that you went with that. But yeah,
What? Okay, so what are you thinking? What's your recommendation?
Idle Hands, baby, Idle Hands.
All right, all
Okay.
right.
So basically, it's about this stoner who wakes up one day and he's just pretty much stopped going to school, stopped living, stopped existing. And there is this demonic possessing demon that possesses the left hand of the laziest person. And while they're asleep, it actually goes in and becomes a serial killer. And so all these people
Ooh.
around his town have been dying, and this lazy fuck doesn't care because he doesn't give a shit about the news. He's stoned. He wants to watch cartoons and eat cereal. It's got Devon Sawa. It's got a young Jessica Alba who plays a very horny next door neighbor. So if you're into horny next door neighbors, it's perfect. It's got the band, The Offspring actually makes a live appearance.
Oh, what
in
the
it.
hell?
They play at the prom.
that's
It's
random.
awesome. The soundtrack's killer. It's got Seth Green and who's the guy who played Foggy Nelson in Daredevil?
Oh, shit.
Give me 1 second. I got you. I actually have my IMDb open.
Oh, I'm blanking.
All right, me too, 'cause
I got you. It's
Eldon Henson, I think.
yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He plays the other stoner friend along with Seth Green, and like it's nonstop laughs. But when it actually does get to the scary parts are legitimately scary. But there's enough like jokes to break up the tension. Good bit of gore, some really awesome kills, nudity, all the things you want in your first horror movie. campy, cheesy, and it's great. I love that movie.
That thing is 90s as fuck looking.
Oh, it's so fucking 90s. And the soundtrack, if you heard it, it's all 90s hits, baby.
Jesus Christ.
Break out your fuzzy hats, ladies and gentlemen. It's on.
That's pretty fantastic.
Adding this to our watch list.
Good stuff. Yeah, it looks like a fun time.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Yeah, now what I'm
always
thinking,
down to like a good time.
What I'm thinking for the freshly non-cherry popped fucking horror fans is, you know what? You gotta respect the classics, in my humble opinion. And I feel like if you really want to get a fun, good sense of like what horror used to be and what horror is now, you need to watch the original Evil Dead. There is so much. It was such an inspiration to so many later horror creators and just the genre in general. And it has so many fun ideas with seemingly such a simple concept where it's four teenagers going out. Actually, I don't even know if they're teenagers. I think they're like
they're in college.
Yeah. Okay, they're like college students.
Yeah, they're college students on a break. 4 college students.
Yep. Or actually, I think it's 5 college students go out in to this random cabin out in the middle of the woods just to have a weekend of just, dickery and fun. And they find a flesh-covered book called the Necronomicon, and they start a recording that they find that reads a passage from it, and then demons just enter their world and start possessing each and one of them randomly and stuff. And it's a chaotic movie that just will constantly keep you guessing of what's going to happen next. And it just has a lot of really good, impactful scares, in my opinion. It's super memorable, especially because the special effects, some of them look just hilariously shitty nowadays. Like how this one scene, one of them is in the basement and they're like hitting her face with like a poker or whatever, but it's very clearly a dummy. They like barely put any effort into hiding that it's a dummy, and it's the funniest thing. There's a bunch of blood. It's such a good time, dude.
From someone who does who's done special effects before for like stagecraft and stuff, I love the campiness of it. It's hilarious. Like you
Especially,
can't get any cheesier than red corn syrup.
Yeah. And dude, apparently that red corn syrup was a pain in the ass too, because they said it kept attracting flies the entire time.
Well, I mean, that adds to the horror in its own way, because flies are considered by many to be bad signs, and they're creepy, and people feel annoyed by them. But I will say, if we were giving points this round for like best recommendation, I would say Evil Dead wins that round, and here's why.
Oh yeah.
Evil Dead has a couple of sequels that you can watch and get into. So if you like the first one, the second one, in my opinion, is the out of all of them, the best one by far. It's amazing. Horror, creepy, funny, weird, fantastic. And then the third one is more of an action-based movie, but it's got amazingly quotable lines, some good scares, and some really funny parts. And then there's a TV series, but then there's comics, and there's books, and there's all kinds of media for Evil Dead, because people like fan over Ash. So if you get into that series, you've got friends.
The video game.
There's video games.
Right. There's a video game, the Evil Dead video game still.
There's been a couple
solid.
Of them. It's fun. I know people were kind of hating on it, but it's actually really fun.
It's a great time. But yeah, and also just gotta say, for any film buffs, it like kickstarted the career of Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell, which on its own deserves respect. So,
all right, Demon, what's your next one?
Spider-Man.
The man who gave us 2000 Spider-Man. So good stuff.
Exactly.
Anyway, continue, Demon.
So probably like for my next one, it's more like if you kind of like want to watch horror, but you're more like a true crimey kind of person, it would be The Afflicted.
Ooh.
The Afflicted.
That is yeah. So there's 2 different movies called The Afflicted, but this one follows, I I believe like in the movie they said it somewhere else, but it's based off of a case in California, where this dad, he's not doing it, the mom. So basically, it's like real life horror. So this mom, she loses her mind. She gets super like a televangelist and starts like doing all the things. The dad is trying to run away and take the kids. She kills him and tells the kids like he ran off. And then just a bunch of just nightmare fuel ensues. I would say it's, if you're a younger person watching it, don't really recommend it because it was one of my trauma movies. But film wise and knowing it's like a true crime adaptation movie, I loved it. So I would definitely recommend it if if you're more leaning towards like, oh, I want some based off like real events kind of things. Not like based on a true story, but this is a legitimate case.
That's pretty awesome.
That's pretty wicked.
The acting is so good because it's shot, I think it was like a 2009 movie, and it shot like a grainy 2009 movie. I mean, it just has like that older looking tone to it. The colors aren't bright and vibrant. It's almost like they have like the darkness turned down on the camera. I loved it. It was really good.
That's pretty dope.
No, I'm looking at some scenes from it. It looks really good because whenever we're talking about these, if I'm not familiar with it, I'm gonna try and get what information I can beforehand. And I love.
Okay, my bad.
You're
it's
right.
2011, not 2009.
Okay.
But yeah, it's got Leslie Easterbrook. She does such a good job, and she's been in, like a couple things here and there. She was in Police Academy like a while back. So going from like Police Academy to
was she the sexy, strong female cop that Issa would have cried over?
I think she was.
Yeah, she was.
Damn,
was she? Yep, there you go. I mean, she just goes from, being in that to just this monster. She was in the TV series a while back, and then she did like other things. She was like one episode in the TV series. She was in Baywatch for like an episode. I mean, so she's done like other things. So it's weird seeing her go from like these really cool roles to like just a garbage human being.
Yeah.
Of a character.
Okay. All right. That's pretty dope. What about you, Soda? What are you thinking?
Number 2. I'm kind of torn between two movies, so you know what? I'm gonna go with the one that I know worked. I had a buddy who actually couldn't watch horror, and I showed him one particular movie because I love it so much. It's the new It film, the one that came out recently. And
Demon hates that shit.
And that's fine. I know she's not the biggest fan,
No.
but here's why.
I don't hate it.
She doesn't hate it, but she likes Tim Curry it better.
I have my reasons. We'll address that on a later episode.
We will address Tim Curry versus the Skarsgård in another episode. But
yeah,
so I showed him
that could be its own episode for sure.
Cinematically,
really
fantastic. Soundtrack off the walls. I mean, they have The Cure and New Kids on the Block. Yes, thank you. And then you talk about the actors. I think people forget that kids are dumb, and the fact that these kids can act at all at this level is amazing. What you're seeing here is very fantastic work from everybody. I mean, a lot of the Skarsgård's things that he does are not, I mean, obviously some are digitally brought in, but like him separating his eyes out all weird like he does and creeping people out as it. Yeah, that's all him. He's just a creepy bastard. It's wonderful because apparently he gets worried after scary scenes. He's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And the kids are like, "Yeah, man, you almost scared me there." You little shit.
Yeah, they're professionals.
Okay, can I say one of my little favorite tidbits about the Skarsgård?
Yeah, sure.
His dad worked on the original.
Oh, that is neat.
Oh, really? That's pretty.
Yeah.
Pretty
I keep forgetting that he's from like a famous family.
Oh yeah, like that's one of my favorite carryovers. You'd never think like, hey, oh yeah, what 30 years that your son is gonna be, the new It.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty cool.
That's amazing. Well, and so what I like about that particular movie. Now, the second one, I didn't like as much, but that particular movie, what I like about it is, even though my friend completely terrified of horror movies, like does not like them, he sat there watching it and he was enthralled because there's enough. Horror oftentimes gets confused as having to be slashers and serial killers. People forget that it can be a story with horror in the background happening to the characters, and that eventually they're going to have to face what's been in the background the entire time. And that movie does that so well, because obviously it's not just attacks from one direction, right? It's bullies, it's this monster, it's creepy ass fathers who have intentions so well carved out even though nothing is said. It's that kind of shit that's so real mixed with the so fake that you can't tell the difference anymore. And that's horrifying and brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. Playing on both sides of it.
Horrifying.
It is. It's fantastic. And what I personally like about it is you can feel invested. None of the characters felt cheapened. Everything got, by itself, it was a standalone decent film in my opinion.
Yeah, I like the perspective of, having, the younger kids. I like that. But I don't know, seeing like the kids today being something like that, I don't know, it hits different, and so I enjoyed it.
Yeah, because the world does feel very different when you're young like that. It's very, very different.
But they were like, what, 14 when that was filmed? Because that was like, the first one came out 5 years ago.
I mean, I guess so. I forget, like Finn Wolfhard's like 19 now. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so he'd have been like 14 when that came out.
Yeah. I guess so.
Damn, dude.
Oh, sorry. All right, Issa, yours.
Yeah, that's pretty good. All right, I got a recommendation that is it's just a good spooky time, and I don't think there's anything particularly like mind-blowing about it. I just think it's a very good horror movie, and it does its job. It does its job. Well, hey, don't you judge my milk baths, you little
I'm
bastard.
the one who gives you the milk bath. You're fine.
I know, and they're horrifying, apparently. Apparently trying to keep my bones all nice and shiny. It's spooky to you. That's not
Keep
cool.
it up.
No,
it's going to be strawberry milk.
Yeah, well, you don't get used as a floaty toy, all right? Don't even start with this shit, all right?
Yeah, exactly. All right, so what I'm going to recommend is Lights Out.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
I know Demon loves this movie.
Oh, fuck you.
All right. So I'm going to have to put a preemptive spoiler warning because there is a scene in Lights Out that I really fucking love. If I'm thinking of, this. Okay. All right, go ahead.
All right, which one you? All right. Okay. So the premise is there is a big spooky lady who only shows up in the dark, and she kind of like only travels through it. I'm not going to say she's a ghost, but she's just a malicious entity that as soon as the lights go out, she's there ready to fuck you up. So the movie plays a lot with, jump scares from like light switches and just random moments that build up the movie, because at a certain point in time nobody is safe.
So
all right,
the witching hour is among us, unfortunately, meaning we only got a little bit of time left before we got to go out and do our things. But
yes.
I will say, with Lights Out, just to wrap up on the end of that.
Tell us about that scene, dude.
Okay, there's a scene, spoiler alert. Okay, there's a scene in there where the boyfriend is trying to save the girl and the little brother from the basement, and he's banging on the door with a flashlight, and the monster comes after him. And he starts by flashing her with the flashlight, and then she attacks him and he loses the flashlight. And then as he's on the ground, he's scrambling and he grabs his phone out of his pocket and he turns it on, and it's that bright enough to get her to back off, right? And I was like, oh, that's smart. So he starts like getting ready to get out of the house, and so she knocks the phone out of his hand, and he's like, fuck, and he starts running out, and he's running to his car, and then he gets tackled in the darkness right underneath like this little parking garage that's outside, the shadow of it. and like she's picking him up, just about to kill him. He's in view of his car, and he clicks the car keys to unlock the car, which turns on the headlights, and he drops to the ground and like gets the fuck out. I love a good smart character.
That was really good.
That was
really, really dope.
Because that guy was cool the entire movie.
In that movie was, I forgot that.
He was a
sick.
useful boyfriend.
He was trying so
noodle.
fucking hard.
Yeah.
He was a useful final girl.
He was.
Oh, dude. Yeah, no, right. that guy was pimping. But anyway,
I know we only have a couple of minutes left in the show. So real quick, I know we can't go into them like we did those earlier ones. 2 last-minute recommendations. Just go ahead and give their titles and the small things you like about them. Starting with you, Demon. Go ahead.
Paranormal Activity series.
All right.
I know.
It's another cool, spooky ghost movie. If you want like a good ghost movie and like a Blair Witch style found footage, it's perfect.
All right, what about you, Soda? What would be a last-minute recommendation for you?
The original Scream, it really changed our entire culture on horror movies, and it's fun and scary.
Most things Wes Craven touched were pretty solid,
fucking good, yeah.
Yeah, I would say we mentioned it a bit last time. But yeah, no, I would say... Probably, I would recommend Conjuring 2. Conjuring 2 is a good time. Conjuring 1, I think, is fucking hilarious, so I don't recommend it, because that's not what horror's about. But for a legitimate scary time, Conjuring 2 is sick, has one of the sickest monster designs I've seen in any recent, horror movie. Like, the Crooked Man in that movie is sick. And actually, now that I remember, the Nun is also... debuted in that movie too, and you
get a quick flash of the Nun.
Yeah, no, she was the main antagonist in that movie.
Was she?
Yeah, she was. Yeah, the Crooked Man he was showing up. I think she kind of manifested him. But yeah, no, it's just a good spooky time. So yeah.
All right, Demon, last one.
Issa kind of took it, but I'll give another one. If you want another kind of found footage, gross horror, Megan is Missing.
Oh, fuck. Ooh. Okay, let's just end it. End the fucking thing. Bye, listeners. We're fucking out of here.
Before we go, listeners, one last thing. Don't forget, tell us about your horror movie recommendations, what you recommend to the first timers, and down in the comments below. And if you like this episode, be sure to like the episode. That's how, if you like it, then like it. It's not hard. It's not hard. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
All right.
Adios.
See ya, boy.